I don't think that politics is doing great in America, as you can probably tell.
I'm not really like being on politics, you know what I'm saying? Me personally, I just be vibing. I just be in my own little space.
Part of my travels to America was to speak to young people in the country to find out what they thought about the general state of politics in the country, to find out what they thought about the current president and the possible comeback of Donald Trump. Another important conversation we had was about the state of not just politics but democracy. We expanded the discussion to democracy, global democracy, American democracy, to find out what they thought about the state of democracy in their own country.
Hi everyone, my name is Pooja Darbendran. I'm a senior. My general view of politics today is that it's very disheartening to see the way that it's set up. It's very polarized. It's very Democrat versus Republican. There's not much space for the middle ground or for compromise.
In terms of like Trump re-running for election, I say why not? You know what I mean? Like, what's Biden doing? You know what I'm saying? I feel like Trump, I feel like he's straightforward. You know what I mean? He's very straightforward.
Back in the 18th century, America was seen by some French philosophers as having certain things about their democracy that was constitutional, that it was based on the will of the majority, the will of the people, and not encumbered by the aristocracy of Europe. You know, Montaigne, for instance, looked to the fact that work and dignity and equality and the voice of the people were predominant in the United States, and that the fact that they had a rule-based system, a constitutional system, really worked for even the ordinary man's voice to be heard, and not just a few elite aristocrats. And so he wrote a treatise that really had impact on democracy. Now, this is the modern age, and we want to really find out what young people think about politics in America.
It doesn't really work well for the youth.
So I think that our leadership is very faulty right now. I think that America is too invested in international conflict, and funds are going to Israel when we already have poverty issues here. America is funding the genocide of Palestine and the genocide of people in Gaza, and they need to divest their funds from Israel and focus on conflict within the United States.
We go in, our vote doesn't matter. We get to vote between the terrible candidate and the terrible candidate who says, oh, we want peace, when, you know, it doesn't matter if the airplane is being flown by, you know, a woman, by someone part of the LGBT community. It doesn't matter if the planes are being flown by people of diverse backgrounds. They're bombing innocent people. They're genociding innocent people.
A lot of people are saying that they don't want to vote because we only have two options this year. Not great options in terms of representation and seeing new people take office, seeing more females, more people of color, and seeing people in office that have actually gone through the experiences of people facing most of the issues we see today. Poverty, food insecurity, pollution, and people being most impacted by that aren't the ones in office making decisions.
Generally, there was a diversity of views, and the first thing that I have to state in terms of my observation was that there was a clear divide. There were some who were really involved, who were civic-minded, and that was quite impressive. In fact, at a Conservative Political Action Committee conference, I met young people who attended the conference. These were people who were being politically, acculturated, you know, in politics.
13.
13.
Ava, 13.
What's in 15? Interesting. But is it your first time seeing Donald Trump?
No.
This is not your first time. You heard him speak.
Yes.
What about you?
This is fun.
I really like that he's changing the Republican Party more to a populist approach, and that he's more focused on the average person rather than elite, and he's making it easier. He's lowering taxes, and he's changing a lot of things for the average person, and then he agrees with them and he works for them.
It's been amazing. We listened to so many great speakers, including Mercy and Max Schwab. They've been my favorite since I was young.
So the first observation about politics in America is that it's a very conscious process, and the political culture and political socialization process includes those who actually consciously try to educate or socialize young people from a very, very young age. Now, in terms of the plethora or the diversity of views, there was first theme, broad theme that I found were those who felt that the options that were being given were not good options at all. And I know we've heard this cliche of the lesser of two evils, choosing between the lesser of two evils, but it's real. But generally across board, most youth in America feel that the political system is being dominated by a lot of old people, and that they have very, very, very few options to choose from, and this can be streamlined down to both the two-party system and also the kind of candidates that they have. So some criticize the two-party system as being too restrictive, but others also criticize it in terms of that even within the two-party system, the two candidates that they have are not good enough for them.
I think that the two-party system is very, very flawed on its own. Our system needs to be more like the UK system, where there's more parties and there's more representation of different views. Because right now, the only two views that are ever represented in politics is either the extreme far left or the extreme far right, and no one I've ever spoke to has ever fallen directly where politicians fall when they say their viewpoints, and it doesn't represent me as a citizen, and it doesn't represent people's viewpoints as a whole.
We don't really have any options for a better candidate right now. Like, with the two-party system, it's like not really working out, and I think it's important to consider voting socialist as well. There are some candidates right now who are investing in the cause for aid for Gaza, but yeah, I just think that, especially with one thing I think of is the Electoral College. America claims to be a democracy, but it's not really, because the Electoral College kind of nulls all our votes.
One of the major conversations is also about the probable return of Donald Trump. He's won pretty much all the Republican primaries that have been held so far, and looking like the presumptive nominee. But there's a lot of court cases swirling around him, so there's still concerns about whether he will really be the nominee.
They're shooting themselves in the foot by running Joe Biden, but this isn't to say Donald Trump is great. Donald Trump is actually worse. He has openly talked about not admitting any Muslims into the country, talked about not admitting Palestinians into the country. He's far worse, but just because he's worse doesn't mean we can vote for a genocidal freak like Biden. I don't think that politics is doing great in America, as you
The third theme that we can talk about is the fact that the youth in America think that politics in this country is divisive. A major word that we kept hearing was polarization, that they felt the two sides were just playing political games, that there was too much division and less room for compromise, and that it was polarized, and they were concerned that this was really not good, because it didn't help to get things achieved, and also the fact that it kind of threw them off politics and drove them away from politics. So an interesting thing was that some people said they didn't really support the comeback of Donald Trump. A major theme that I heard was the threat to democracy in America, and that democracy was being weakened, as opposed to the 18th century, when democracy was taking hold.
He's been indicted, he's gone to court, he's been put on trial, he's been accused multiple times of sexual harassment. It's been proven that he's just not a good role model and not the right person to lead our country and make decisions and enact the change that we need to see. And with his presidency, we saw a lot of polarization, a lot of xenophobia, a lot more division amongst people in America. And I think it could get even worse if he's elected this time, despite everything that he's done.
Obviously, there were some who also did support Donald Trump, and they explained why.
I feel like he's real. You know what I'm saying? Real recognizes real, and I feel like he's real. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I would say the way they're doing him dirty, I don't think it's, they never done another president dirty the way they did him. You know what I mean? Which is kind of like not a good thing, especially when you're trying to run for president. But all I can say is, like, free him. You feel me?
A major concern for young people at this point was that America was supporting the genocide against the Palestinians. The United States being one of the prominent democracies in the world, this actually also brings up certain issues of concerns with the leading democracy. democracy. And it is important because for some people, they felt that America demonstrated global leadership. They demonstrated that they said many countries look up to America, and that it was important that America give a good example to the rest of the world. For Good Evening Ghana, this is Echey reporting from the USA.